The bio was there. This is a sample of my games. Please call me Ruger. And I'm here to talk about a case study specifically. It's called Creators Fair, and it was one of my last game organized in many events in Scandinavian countries, Denmark, Sweden, but also Estonia, England, and Italy. Before talking about that, though, I need to give you information about the context of what this kind of game is and where it was born and which influence it had. So Creators Fair can be put inside the black box LARP scene. For people who doesn't know what LARP is, it's a live action role play, probably more famous about fantasy, costumes and swords. Luckily, is not only that. And the Scandinavian countries has a big tradition of, let's say, alternative live action role play settings. Specifically, they have subgenres called black box LARPs, organized, as the name said, inside black box that are black theatrical room. Sadly, the lights don't help looking at this picture, but I have some case studies here that I will talk you about before introducing my game. So, Borderline, and first of all, sorry, all of these designers, as you can imagine, are Scandinavian countries designers, so I'll probably not be able to pronounce their surname correctly. But Borderline is by Signe Herdel from Denmark. It's a game that represents an abstraction. The entire setting is inside the mind of a person with basically a bipolar disorder. Indeed, in that game, a single character will be played by two different players. The players will hold a candle together, and when they want their own part of the personality to take control, they will pull the candle towards them, and vice versa. And the game is an internal discussion about everyday life that these people have. And if they start arguing and the candle basically goes off, they need to start the labyrinth again. And it's about the basic difficulties that some of these people may have inside their everyday life that we don't think about. The other game is Stranger by Nina Runa Essendrop. This is a non-verbal LARP. When you think about role-playing game, maybe you think about discussion, conversation about with your friends, but this is a game that is strictly non-verbal. The setting are two countries, abstractly represented by green and blue, and the game has a workshop before the play, where the people are evenly divided in blue and green, and they need to create a non-verbal language together. And the inputs are very simple. They need to create, for example, a gesture for saying hi, or I'm happy, or I'm sad, or I'm angry. And the thing is, the two groups have different rules that they need to follow. The green need to have strong, rigid movement, and the blue need to have smooth, circular gestures. They live their everyday life in these two areas, strictly forbidden to pass through the other nation. And they have a nighttime in-game where everything is black, all the lights are off. The organizer then takes some people and forcefully brings them to the other country. It's a game, of course, about integration, impact of a stranger culture. What happens when you don't know the language of the nation you're entering to? Basic conversation become very difficult. Are you going to absorbing the culture, learning the new language? Or are you going to form clusters of your own people to survive? Wonderful game. Also from Nina Runa Essendrop, White Death. I'll try to be a bit quicker. Also non-verbal game about life in a small mountain village where people will slowly die to the snowstorm until everybody dies. And it's about the struggles in this community with non-verbal props, like balloons that represent dreams, and you can steal them, you can pop them, you can lose them, and so on. As you can imagine, there is a pattern of metaphors, abstraction. The Range, a game by Jeppe and Maria Bergman, is a game about the life of German composer Robert Schumann and his friends, and is actually a game about the metaphorical process of creating the last composition of your life while you revisit your memories. The whole game is on a wall, and you basically literally take off these memories to act them out until the end of the life of Schumann that was basically died in a hospital. So pretty sad game. Roxanne is a game about dancing, partnership, and intimacy, and the technique and the mechanic there are dancing. So it's a game that is verbal when you are conversating, but is strictly non-verbal in some specific times where you're asked to basically dance with the other players. And the last one is Socialismo y Muerte by Yorgo Kapov. This one is one of the strongest probably in his case studies, is a game specifically set in 1987, 89, and 91 in Cuba. And I don't know if you know the phenomenon of Los Fricos. Was a group of Cubans. Okay, first, it was basically a bridge between before and after the fall of the Berlin Wall. Before, the URSS were still giving money to Cuba, and after the fall, basically, they fall in poverty, and the state were very, let's say, violent toward diversity. So people that were rocker, queer people, members of LGBT community were basically harassed and beaten up by police. And at the same time, Cuba was receiving some international money because of the HIV spread. So they have these small enclosures, villages, that basically people that were affected by HIV went there to die in peace, and they were more free. They could listen to rock and punk there, just to be clear. They can read non-Soviet literature and so on. So what happened? Some people, part of these affected communities, the rockers, the punks, the queer people, started to basically self-inject infected blood because they say, you know what, I'm dying here for police. At this point, it's better to die in one of those villages. Sorry. So, really personal game, as you can imagine, and heavy. Inside of this community of designers, my game was born. It was called Creator Fair. It started from a simple question of what's class, what's power in the context of abusive relationship. Again, as one of the previous example, through a filter. In this specific case, I took the filter of the Victorian era, the difference in class and gender, to talk about the basic concept and notion of abusive relationship. It's a game about couples of players from 8 to 20. Player will play all together, but inside the whole group, there will be couples of player and co-player. One of them will be the upper class, and the other will be the lower class. Specifically, in this setting, it's about an expo, a kind of steampunk-ish Victorian dystopian era, where basically inventors, scientists, and creators create living mannequins in order to do basic stuff. Can be either, I don't have time for my child, my robot will take care of that. Or I don't have time for the garden, my robot will go searching for plants and planting them. They are called creator and automata, and those two are the basic role of the game. They bring with them some privilege. For example, the creator are referred with the pronoun they want to achieve honor, they are free to show their face around, they have the social power in the game. While the automata, they are not even considered human, they are punished for mistakes very often, they want to avoid shame, and that's their drive, and they are referred to with the pronoun it. And they wear a white mask to cover their face. So this is the core of the game. It's a black box LARP, 10-20 player, 4 or 5 hours long, with themes of abusive relationship, objectification, shame, society norm, and free will, and what does this mean in this context. Music and sound is a Baroque-ish vibe to reinforce these feelings, and I will give you one more example later. But what about the space? Black box games have a strong use of lights and color as meta technique. Specifically, the game space is divided in these 4 areas. I will tell you about them. The first one, the number 1, is the common area. It's an area for mingling, semi-formal talking, where basically creator and automata could talk together. In this specific part, the creator can, with a basic mechanic called point the finger, can point the finger towards any automata that are infringing the social norm of the automata need to be inferior to human. That is the core rule of the society. So if I'm a creator and see automata doing something that is not considered automata-ish, I will point the finger and scream shame. What happened when this happened? The game freeze. The lights went off. Only the two red and blue corner will light up. And now there is a meta technique happening. The shame corner. The automata walk to the red corner, and they basically have an inner monologue out loud. For people who are not familiar with the technique, it's a meta technique, is a non-diegetic thing that is happening, but the player are seeing it, the character are not. So me, as a player, I'm having out loud an inner monologue about my feelings, what I'm thinking, what are my emotions inside me right now. But my character is not. So characters are not listening, players are. After that, I take a weight, a necklace with a weight, and wear it on my neck. If I'm shamed more times, I wear more of them. The honor corner. After this, the creator do the same. The thing is, their monologue is about the emotion, why they pointed the finger, how they are feeling right now. And after they're doing this, they take a medal and basically attach them to their shirt. This is basically alternated in the mingling area. But it is basically, after a few minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, there is a podium phase. What is the podium phase? All the lights went off. A creator brings their automata to basically a podium where they present their creation. And this is done with the air on G string composition, if you know, from Superquark. So the feeling of I'm presenting an object is even more reinforced in this context. And they have a wooden stick that they can use to basically move the automata as they wish. They basically order their automata to do like raise your hand, sing a song, and describe their characteristics. What is the epilogue of this game? After every couple of creators and automata presenting the podium, alternated with mingling parts, the creator with most medals is basically awarded and elected the next year lead of the creator's fair. While the automata with the most amount of necklace and weight will be executed by their creator in the podium. As you can imagine, this can get very emotional. It's not rare to see players cry, and we can talk later about safety, and because sadly the time is short, so some debriefing and consideration. Every game of this kind is as a mandatory workshop before the game that basically give the player the tools that they need to be safe in a game like this. And after the game, there is a debriefing phase where they discuss, analyze, and basically decompress the experience in order to not leave them to the world after an experience this intense. What can we learn from this? Lights and sounds are generally not considered game rules or mechanic, but they can be. They can be very powerful, in fact. One thing that every player learns in this game, that they tell in the debriefing, is that all of these relationships are abusive. Even the non-violent ones, even the ones where the automata, the creator really care about the automata and protect them, is an abusive one. Because their sense of, I'm protected, I don't need to do anything else, is a kind of abuse. Mechanics and team can work together to create ad hoc mechanics that reinforce your experience. The necklace, the weight, the shame as a physical representation in the players. Of course, this is probably another topic, is role-playing games can deal with personal and heavy topics like other mediums and games. And yeah, that's it.